Hello and welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast presented by Cisco. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Brianna McDonald, and joining me is 49ers team reporter, Lindsay Polares. Happy Victory Monday, faithful. The San Francisco 49ers defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20 in thrilling fashion. Today, Lindsay and I are recapping the Week 10 game. First, Lindsay, tell us what the travel to the East Coast was like. Did the faithful turn out in Tampa?
Yes, the faithful always show up. I will say it's a little bit difficult to differentiate actually in the stands because one of Tampa Bay's colors is red. But we went over to the 49ers side and obviously the tunnel where the players are coming out of, and you can tell who's a 49ers fan right away. Fans, you always deliver. We love seeing you at away stadiums. I can never get over the fact that we don't travel anywhere without our fans. Like they follow the team. They're so enthusiastic, and they definitely bring the energy to every away stadium. It makes it feel less like a road game, and I truly appreciate that, and I know the team does too.
Absolutely. All right, let's dive into the win. Christian McCaffrey made a strong return in the lineup after missing 8 weeks due to Achilles tendonitis. How did his presence on the field impact the team's overall offensive rhythm, especially with other weapons like Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy delivering the ball to them?
Yeah, I think definitely Christian McCaffrey, you can't not get better when you get your NFL Offensive Player of the Year back in the lineup. So I think that's pretty significant. And actually, if you look at the numbers, I think one of the more interesting parts is that Christian McCaffrey had 13 carries for 39 yards. It was actually in the receiving game that he had a bigger impact. If you're talking about just like numbers wise, 6 catches on 7 targets for 68 yards. I think he brought obviously just a spark to the offense that maybe they weren't missing, but they definitely are happy to have in this second half. I think one of the best plays of the game was that 30-yard catch that he had in the fourth quarter. I think that really was just like an uplifting moment for when the game got really close. The Buccaneers took the lead to start the fourth quarter. So you see Christian McCaffrey kind of have this splash play, and it just re-energizes everybody. So I think his presence, in addition to, obviously the very high skill set he has, it cannot be understated. Christian McCaffrey is one of the core pieces of this offense and this team. So welcome back, CMC. It was a long-awaited return.
Most definitely. I know the fans were excited to see him out there. The players, his teammates were excited to see him out there. And it was such a special moment for Christian McCaffrey. Another special moment, Ricky Pearsall scored his first career touchdown in this game. Can you paint the picture on just how meaningful that moment was for him, his family, and really the whole team?
Yeah, it is remarkable what Ricky Pearsall has been through and overcome so early in his NFL career. This was a much different story that we were talking about just a couple of months ago during Labor Day weekend. Obviously was the victim of an armed robbery attempt. Fast forward to week 10 of the NFL season, he makes his third appearance. And this time he gets his first career touchdown. I think it was incredibly meaningful for him, the fan base, the team, just to see this comeback continue to get better and better for Ricky Pearsall. One of my favorite team traditions that the 49ers have is the victory lay. And he was the recipient of that victory lay yesterday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All smiles from his teammates. I was able to talk to him right after the win. And he talked about how that play specifically that in which he scored his touchdown, it was a play that they ran earlier in the game, didn't work out, and they went back to it. And this time, obviously, it worked out in the best way possible. He was the first touchdown scored for the 49ers. So again, just a huge shout out. Congratulations. I know there's plenty of more good things to come from Ricky Pearsall, but what a way to begin your NFL career.
Yeah, and with Ricky and looking at San Francisco's offense, how has the team's depth at wide receiver impacted their offensive strategy, particularly with Juwan Jennings and Pearsall coming into their own?
Yeah, I think especially in a season where you lose Brandon Ayuk, who has been a foundational piece to this 49ers offense and was the reception yards leader the last 2 seasons, you definitely need players to step up. Jawan Jennings has always been a reliable receiver for the 49ers. He is now very much stepping into his own this season. He is now a top receiver for the Niners. Not that he hasn't been, but I think he's just getting like the recognition around the league for it. And then Ricky Pearsall, obviously, was the 49ers first round draft pick this year for a reason. They loved his route running abilities. They loved his ability to create separation. You're starting to see that as he gets more comfortable in this offense. And it's only going to continue going up from here. Obviously, the team took a really, really hard hit with Ayuk out, but there are people that are stepping up. They're showing out, Jacob Cowing starting to also dip his toes in the water and get his opportunities at wide receiver. So there is talent on this team. It's being utilized to its full ability right now. And I really do think it is just an upward trajectory for this 49ers wide receiver core.
All right, let's look at the other side of the ball. The 49ers defense was dominant in the first half, holding the Bucs to just 37 yards rushing. But what adjustments did you see the defense make throughout the game, even down to the final moments?
I really want to highlight the final defensive series for the 49ers. It was obviously Tampa Bay's last offensive possession. It was incredibly crucial to the outcome of this game to make sure Baker Mayfield did not lead his team all the way to the end zone. A ton of penalties on that drive, but the 49ers ultimately holding the Buccaneers to just a field goal, playing some, the necessary grimy defense in order to make that happen. So key, because I do think it would have been a different game had that been a touchdown drive. So that being able to hold Tampa Bay just to that field goal gave the 49ers the ball back with 41 seconds. Brock Purdy executed the most precise, efficient drive to follow. We saw Jake Moody cap it all off with a 44-yard field goal for that walk-off win. Again, none of that possible without the 49ers defense standing their ground. So it wasn't perfect defense right in that second half, but it was enough that we said it yesterday. We heard the team say it was a grimy win, but they did what was necessary in order to lock down this dub.
Yeah, definitely a grimy win. Jake Moody's game winner capped off a dramatic final drive. This was his first game back from injury, so there were a couple hiccups. But what are your thoughts on him just pushing through the mental challenge of the game being on the line like that?
Yeah, I think he, obviously wasn't a perfect game for Jake Moody. Adversity, right? Made 3 of his 6 field goal attempts, but guess what? He made the one that mattered the most, right? And you wouldn't have had this walk-off win for the 49ers had he not been able to lock in and make that happen. We heard head coach Kyle Shanahan talk about it post-game. There was a lot of confidence in Jake Moody. We heard Jake Moody talk about it. He wanted his opportunity to redeem himself. He was able to do that. And I also spoke with Ricky Pearsall after the game, and he said we had a lot of confidence in him. Ultimately he was able to shake it off. The team had the trust in him to put the game in his hands. He delivered, and the 49ers got what they wanted. They came out of week 10 with a win. They are now 5-4 on the year. It wasn't a perfect game, and that's okay. I think, again, it was about making the plays when they matter, when they needed it the most, and that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah, you just spoke about it a moment before, but looking at the seconds back from that final kick, Brock Purdy executed an efficient final drive, connecting with Pearsall and Jennings to get into field goal range. How does Purdy's poise in these critical moments speak to his growth at quarterback for this team?
For anybody that doesn't think he's an elite quarterback, this is a fantastic example. 41 seconds to move the ball down the field, get this team into field goal range, and let Jake Moody take it the rest of the way. And he looked to Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall, 2 catches to each of those receivers in order to make it all happen. So 4 catches, 4 passes, all completed for 39 yards. Got them in the right spot where they needed to be. Jake Moody able to pull off the 44-yard field goal. And it all worked out. I, again, spoke to Ricky Pearsall after the game, and he said that the mentality of this offensive unit, and of course led by Brock Purdy, is that every time you get on the field, you can put points on the board. And he said as a group, they trusted themselves in those final 41 seconds, and they were able to do what they ultimately knew they could do, but obviously not possible without some precision passing by Brock Purdy. So I don't think that that can be understated either. Huge, huge role in this game.
Definitely. This victory puts the 49ers above 500 after a challenging stretch of games. How do you think this win helps the team's momentum heading into the second half of the season, especially with all these key players returning?
I think it is ultimately exactly how the 49ers wanted it all to work out in this first game back from the bye. It was a hard fought win. But when you look at the schedule, the 49ers absolutely needed this to get, like you said, some good momentum going. They do have a tough stretch of games coming up. Next up, the Seahawks, then the Packers, then the Bills. They need every bit of confidence as they move forward. This certainly, obviously, again, I talk about that upward trajectory. For me, it feels like that. So we'll have to obviously wait and see how it all plays out. But it never hurts to get a win under your belt when you are headed up against some pretty tough opponents in the weeks that follow. And then also, just the travel schedule also really difficult in this next month. 3 of the next 4 games are going to be on the road. They're going to be played away from Levi Stadium. So getting this win, I think, very, very crucial for the 49ers.
Most definitely. They're going to need all the energy they can get. But that will do it for today's episode. Faithful, enjoy your Victory Monday. Subscribe to First and 10 presented by Cisco for more 49ers updates and turn on the notifications for any breaking news, Move the Chains episodes. Thanks for tuning in.